Hello and welcome to Inside Tennessee Football's practice facility. I'm Ryan Sylvia, joined by Noah Taylor. We're with VolReport.com and the Rivals Network, and day 11 of Tennessee Fall Camp is in the books. They'll scrimmage tomorrow, so make sure you stay at VolReport.com and here on the YouTube channel for updates for their second scrimmage of fall. But today, it was practice, and afterwards, running back coach Darrell Sims and then two receivers, two running backs spoke with the media. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to start with Darrell Sims. What do you think about what he had to say?
Yeah, first time talking to him this fall, was kind of interested going into it because of some of the shakeups in that running back room since fall camp started. Really going back to spring, but obviously, that rotation right now, I guess, is a little bit in flux. I mean, Dylan Sampson's the guy that's going to lead the way there. But Cam Selden, has been in a red jersey for a while now, and obviously dealing with injury. We see him out there, but obviously staying away from the non-contact stuff right now. So it's, you talk about like guys like Khalifa Keith, Deshaun Bishop getting some of those reps there. So it's kind of interesting to hear him talk about how those guys have looked. Deshaun Bishop being one that has kind of made a little bit of a name for himself going back to his freshman year when he was in the spring before he got his own injury. But Darrell Sims talking about him, saying he's kind of a throwback guy, a throwback runner, doesn't get flustered. Has really, I think, impressed the coaches. Josh Heupel's talked about him a lot since he's gotten here, and then Darrell Sims, obviously, a little bit familiarity recruiting him when he was at a different stop, before coming to Tennessee. But a guy that's kind of played well, I think, taking advantage of the opportunity there, and still kind of impressing the coaches, which kind of bodes well for that room, considering you're 2 weeks away from the season opener now, and that's a game you probably expect him to get a lot of reps in.
Yeah, I feel like, especially at the college level, what comes up a lot is pass protection, and that's kind of an emphasis across the country, especially here at Tennessee. Dylan Sampson, maybe one of his weaker spots of his game is pass protection, and especially for a lot of these freshmen that come in, it can be tough. I talked to Khalifa Keith, and he said he didn't really have to do it in high school. So now he's going into a second year. Well, that's something that he's kind of had to balance, is still working on, the typical parts of being a running back, the handoffs and that aspect of it, but also now the pass protection aspect of it too, just trying to make sure he's doing the right things and kind of using the right mechanics for pass protection. Talking about Peyton Lewis, though, Darrell Sims talked about how, hey, he's already good at it. He comes in and he's got a big frame. He's got a nice body to use in pass protection, and it just seems kind of more natural for him. So I think that could kind of play into maybe Peyton Lewis getting a little bit more trust as the season goes on, because we've seen in the past some freshmen where that's one of the reasons they don't get a lot of run, is because they're not super confident in pass protection. Well, Peyton Lewis, if he's got kind of that foundation, and then he also runs the ball well and does the other little things well that they ask running backs to do, that could be a reason we see him on the field early. Let's talk about the wide receivers, though. Caleb Webb, Chris Brazel took the podium. What did you have to think about what they had to say?
Yeah, Brazel, a guy highly touted coming in, had a really good, I think, 2 years at Tulane before transferring here. And from everything we've seen and heard, has continued to make an impact. Had a really good spring, doing the same thing in fall camp. But talked about, his emphasis in the offseason was really getting to know the playbook. Obviously, in offense, it's a little bit unique and different from others he's played in before, I'm sure. So that was an emphasis for him. Seems to be working from what we hear. But, same with Caleb Webb, a little bit different case. Obviously, he was here last year, got to get on the field, but a guy, too, that's developing in this offense. Played because of injuries last year. And I thought between those two guys, what was interesting was the fact that, they've talked about moving all over the field. Kelsey Pope was in here last week, talked about wanting to play guys at different positions. Say there's packages and things where they, plays where they play in the slot, but mostly two outside guys that I think are going to be, pretty big factor this season.
And I think that kind of late season playtime that Caleb Webb got could be kind of a big deal for his development going into this year. But also, I thought it was interesting how he said, well, at the beginning of last season, I was with the twos. And so that meant I was already throwing and catching with Nico. And that could kind of be a factor as you look to kind of develop that chemistry that gets talked about a lot between a quarterback and a wide receiver. Well, he's got some of that to fall back on, whether it's twos in practice, whether it's cleanup duty when Nico did get into games, or just other spots here and there. And then obviously this year he's getting his share of reps this morning in practice. He was one of the first guys up at the Z position for Tennessee to be able to catch some passes with Nico at quarterback. So he's kind of one of those guys, like we saw Squirrel White and Joe Milton last year, how those were kind of two guys that were connected from 2022 going into 2023. I think we'll see a little bit of the same with a Caleb Webb, with a Chaz Nimrod, who maybe were one step back on the depth chart last year, even though both those guys had to play by the end of the season. They kind of already have that pre-built-in connection with Nico. That'll do it all from us here, though, today inside Tennessee football's practice facility. Like I said, tomorrow will be a scrimmage inside Neyland Stadium for Josh Heupel and his Tennessee team. Josh Heupel will talk with the media afterwards, so make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel to hear what Josh Heupel had to say, hear what our thoughts on what Josh Heupel had to say are, and at VolReport.com for everything you need at Tennessee Athletics. Links to everything you need is in the description. Thank you for watching.